Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today for our webinar, Marvel at the Plethora of New Manufacturing Functionality in BC26. I'm Joy, and I'm the marketing manager, and I am joined by Andre and Kevin, who are both solution architects here at Innovia. Before we get started, I wanted to call attention to the Q&A at the bottom of your Zoom screen. If you do have any questions during the webinar, please utilize that, and we will answer them at the end. With that, I will turn it over to Andre and Kevin.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit before we introduce ourselves. Business Central 26 is already out. It is actually 26.1 is also out, and you're able to update to. It, as far as I've seen in all my time working with Nav and Business Central, this is the most new functionality they've ever added for manufacturing, and it's actually pretty exciting. My name is Kevin Fons. I'm a solution architect with Innovia Consulting. I've been here for, I think, 9 years now. I've already lost track, so I know it's been a long time. I work in the operations side, which is everything kind of from sales orders, shipment, warehousing, EDI, supply chain. I started with Nav in 2004 and version 3.7 as a customer, and as I said, I've been here for 9 years. And then Andre's also presenting with me.
Yeah, so my name is Andre Brusgulis. I'm a solution architect with Innovia. I've been with Innovia 5 years. The only reason I know exactly the date because my 5 years were on May 2nd of this year. Having great time working for the company, helping our customers, working with the technology. BC26, as Kevin mentioned, gave us a great gift, so we're very happy to show you what's available now. I'm also covering mostly operations, warehousing, manufacturing, know a little bit of finance, but I'm not going to consider myself a finance consultant, but I can be dangerous there. So
I don't do finance.
I know we don't.
Yeah. So this is a complete list of, as far as I know, everything that's was added or is being added. It's huge. As you can see, I just wanted to put it on one slide so you can kind of see how much we're really talking about. Don't worry, we'll get into each one of these areas individually. So the first area that I'm going to talk about is like production order management improvements. That includes reopening a finished production order. You can now finish production order with no output. Which means like if you start an order and do some consumption, you can actually now finish it with no output. I'm going to go into each one of these in detail as we go through, but reversing capacity entries, blocking items for production output, production order attachment flow. So now you can add attachments to items and bombs and they'll flow to the production order. The bulk change status from the production order list where you can select orders and change their status all at once. And then creating and print multiple orders from the planning worksheet. There is also a reschedule a production order with safety lead time by adjusting the end date. We'll talk a little bit about that, but I think that still needs some work. So first of all, reopening a finished production order. I don't know how many times I've been asked, hey, can I reopen this finished production order? I forgot some output or I forgot some consumption, and we would say no, there's really no way to fix it. So now you can. It basically is easy as you go to the finished production order, you say reopen, it will set the status back to release. Then you can add or correct your consumptions or your outputs, and then you can change the order back to finish, and it'll reprocess it and adjust all the variances if you're using standard cost, or adjust the cost if you're using like a modern method like FIFO. I think this is the same slide. Okay, so finished production order with no output. Another thing people have asked for. They make a mistake. They started it. Another example might be you start it. You do your first piece inspection. The tool is wrong. I'm not going to run this order. Let's just get rid of it. You have to enable this in manufacturing setup, and once you enable it, it will not allow you to turn it back off later. I don't know why that is, but it is. It's just something to be aware of. So to finish production order with no output, you can see my finished quantity is 0. I have some material cost against it. I have some capacity cost against it. Then you're going to say change status to finished, and you have to check this little box that says finished order. I know some other partners and myself have asked them to change that to say finish order at 0. So it's a little more intuitive because you don't have to click that every time you finish an order. It's just when you're finishing it at 0. Just something to note there. And now you can see here's my finished production order with a quantity finished of 0. So again, another thing we've been asking for since the beginning of time, I think. So reversing production order transactions, it really just kind of applies to the capacity entries. So here somebody entered like 1,000,000 hours of labor on an order, like runtime or something, which created a huge problem. I just go to that entry, I say reverse production or transaction, and it basically just does a negative that offsets it. Again, Andre, just to be clear, we tested it, it did not work with, it does not work for output. For output, you just do the reverse output in the output journal, right?
Correct.
Okay. And then you also have now a new one on the item card. You can block, just like you can block things for sale, you can block production for output. It is a drop down, so I'm just wondering if in the future they add things like block for consumption or block for creation or something like that. So usually it's just a Boolean checkbox like the warehouse over pick above it, but this one gives you a selection, but the only selection in there is blank or output. So change status in bulk from the list view, right? So now you can select multiple orders. You can say change status to finished. As you see, I don't have the finished order flag checked. You don't need to. It's only for at 0. And then it'll basically change all these orders to finished that are selected. Now, if there's a problem where you're going to change it to finished or change it from firm plan to released, and it comes up with an error message, it will do all the ones it can do and leave the ones that it couldn't do. So that's kind of nice. It doesn't just stop the whole process. So attachments, you can go to items and you can set up, you can have an attachment. So a drawing, for example, a quality inspection sheet, things like that. And if you mark them for flow to production, it will flow to the production order. You can also, from the production BOM, you can do an attachment there and do the same thing with flow to the production order. So either at the item or the BOM, you can create these attachments and say you want them to go to the production order. So then when you create the production order, under the attachments down on the line, it will show you, you can see here that both those flowed to the production order. The one thing they do have to update, this doesn't show it, but there's a fact box on the side for the attachments. It's not linked to the line, and we've asked them to link it to the line so that we can see the line attachments or add a separate line attachments fact box. But they are there and they can be used. So, and then I think the last thing related to production order handling things. In the past, if you would be using the planning worksheet and say I would take 3 production orders and I'd say I want a firm plan and print these. So when you carry out those messages in the past, it only printed either the first one or the last one, I can't remember, but you only got one of them. Now it will actually print all the production orders that you created. So that's finally there. They did it for purchase orders a while ago, and it took them a little while to get it for the production orders. So, Andre, journal and cost handling improvements are yours.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. We're going to talk a little bit and switch gears and talk about costing and journals in this conversation. So, um, the first one is related to statistics and cost handling for non-inventory items on bill of materials. So there will be a separate slide for this later on, so I'm just going to skip it and move to the next one and talk about item tracking. Now, in output and consumption journals, as well as in item journals, you can enter the item tracking information, lot numbers, serial numbers, right at the line level without going to the item tracking page. So this needs to be enabled at the journal level. If you have to enter, let's say, for example, you are managing multiple lots, so serial numbers, you need to enter several lines if you want to enter your information at the journal level. The next one is the improved production order posting. So Microsoft made some changes that makes posting more efficient and allows multiple people to post at the same time, which was a problem in the past, but now it's working a lot better. The next option is edit in Excel for output and consumptions. This is beneficial when you are in the production output and consumption journal and you're dealing with a lot of serial or lot number information. You can basically open it up in Excel and use all Excel functionality available in Excel to make your changes, makes life easier, and then those changes are in your output and production journals. So the last one on this list is standard cost per stock keeping unit. Microsoft finally made another step forward and allows now users to calculate the standard cost at the SKU level, and that's per location or per variant. However, we have to keep in mind that it's just a calculation. There is no role or evaluation at that point in time at the SKU, at the location where the SKU resides. So Microsoft's slowly moving in the right direction. So we're looking forward to more changes that they would be making in this area. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, non-inventory item cost statistics for non-inventory items. In order for this to work, it has to be turned on first in the manufacturing setup. There is an option that says include non-inventory items to produced items in the manufacturing setup, and it can be turned on. If you decide to use this, keep in mind that you would also need to supply a couple of posting accounts in the general posting setup and the inventory posting setup for direct cost non-inventory applied account and a material non-inventory variance account. We can move forward.
So this is still you, Andre. Bill of material management improvements.
Okay, thank you. So a couple of changes there. What you can do now is open a page where you will be able to compare versions of the bill of material. Basically will allow you to see changes from one version to another. Then there will be another improvement is you can select multiple items to a BOM, which in the past you had to pretty much add one item at a time. Now you can select multiple items, and there will be slides that I'm going to show you a little later on this. And also you can edit in Excel bill of material lines. Next slide. So this is basically a slide that represents that when you are on the production BOM and you go to the production BOM version comparison, you can see basically your versions here in that you can at the production BOM version comparison page. Next. So now line maintenance options on the bill of material. As you can see, there is a new button here that allows you to select multiple items. If you click on this button, you can see that the window opens up where you can select items and then click on OK. You still would need to fill out the quantities and so on at the bill of material line level. However, it helps you tremendously when you're creating bills of materials, complex bills of materials where a lot of items exist. One thing to be aware is when you add multiple lines to the bill of materials, you will be faced with the fact that you can't see that what you added. I think Microsoft is working on this right now, because what happens, the lines are added and you really need to scroll up to see what you just added. It's a small inconvenience in this point in time, but they do get added.
Yeah, it focuses you on the last line, which is puts
Exactly.
the other two lines up off the screen. But I still tend to encourage people to use copy bomb because it sets a lot of the other things, but it is a nice feature, especially when if you would add like 10 new raw materials in a row, they're all going to go to one production bomb. It makes it easy to just add all 10 of those items to the bomb at once. So, so this is me. So the production or warehouse handling improvements. So they did some improvements in the previous version about a year ago where they added some put away options. But the warehouse put away was not an option at that time for production outputs. It now is. They've also added Pick Plus Manual as a flushing option. It's the only option that didn't exist forever. You only had manual, and I'll talk a little bit about that in another slide. And then overpicking on warehouse picks for production was added. So the warehouse put away option on output, it used to be you would only have no warehouse handling, which is what it was originally, and then they added inventory put away. The problem with inventory putaways is that when you post the inventory put away, it posts the output, and you don't really want your material handlers doing a put away. So the new warehouse put away just works just like a receiving put away, where when you post output, it will create a warehouse put away. So if you're using scanners, in theory, the material handler can come up and scan that pallet. It'll open up the put away and they can process the put away and put it away. They don't have to just do an ad hoc move or an item reclass to put it away. So that's really, really nice. And it automatically creates for every output you do. It doesn't add if you do more outputs, one after another. It just creates one per output. So, the pick plus manual flushing method. So in the past, we had pick plus backwards and backwards. We had pick plus forward and forward, and we had manual. We did not have pick plus manual and manual. So what that meant that any time that an item, if you wanted to do manual consumption and you wanted to, for example, have material stored in your work cell that's used there and just replenish that, you were almost forced to use backwards or forward for those items. Now with the pick plus manual and manual option, you can pick the items you want to pick and manually consume them, and the other ones you can basically just consume either directly, from your consumption bin or not consume. An example of not consuming might be you might have a tool on a bill of material or something like that that's just there mainly for reference and you never consume it, so you would set that to manual. There is in feature management, you need to turn this on, and when you do that, it will go through and if depending on how you're set up, it will update all your manual items to be pick plus manual, so that they end up being the same as they were before you set it, and then you will have to go back if ones you don't want to be pick plus manual, you're going to change those back to manual. Like I said, it works really well for items that you have like in a floor stock, for tools, when you need to pick some items but not all items. So warehouse overpicking, you set this up on the item replenishment tab on the item itself to allow warehouse overpick. The material handler can go in and put quantities in now for more than what the pick asks for. It only is for warehouse picks, not for inventory picks. So like if you're picking a whole roll of material or a case of material, instead of, if it says pick 10 and there's 12 in a case, you could go pick 12. There is a return over pick quantity on the movement worksheet that will actually create a move. It'll allow you to create a movement to move over picked inventory back to stock. So if you didn't consume it all, it allows you to do that. One thing to remember is that if you do overpick that quantity, it is really only for that pretty much for that order, because that's not a pickable bin. You can manually consume it on other orders, but I don't recommend that. So until you move it back to stock, it's not really available to be picked for other orders. So that's kind of my last one. Be aware if you pick more for order A and need material for order B, you may now not have what you need for order B. So, and then there is a whole slew of manufacturing related reports that were improved that Andre is going to talk about now.
Thank you, Kevin. So here's a list of all the improved and new reports with new layouts that are available in BC 26. It's
Hold on, Andre. One note. The Excel reports are not released yet, and they're not going to be in 26.2. They will be in a future release, 26.3 or later. So I just wanted to note that. I missed that.
So they pushed it out even more, I guess. Okay.
Yeah,
That's good.
recently did that.
Yeah, but be on the lookout. They're coming. So output item label report with barcodes, production order, WIP, production order statistics, capacity task list, subcontractor, dispatch list where used, and items available to make. So I'm going to go briefly just through the screenshots because that's what we have at this point in time. But when the reports are going to be available, feel free to start looking at them, using them. So this is what the legacy production cost report looked like in the past. Now, if you look at the reports when they are available, you will see that Microsoft replaced these reports with a tabular format in Excel where each report is available on its own tab, which is kind of nice because it allows finance people who love working with costing to use a tool that they all admire.
Yeah, and the other thing to note is that there is a print version and an analysis version of the reports, and then there's an about the report tab that kind of tells you details on how the report is run and things like that. It's kind of a tooltip type page. So
yeah. So the next set is the legacy reports for Work Machine Center load reports. And then again, we have new reports available in the tabular format, again, for print version and analysis version. The capacity task list, the old, outdated version, and the new modernized version. It's worth mentioning there that for the capacity task list, both layouts are available, the Word layout and Excel layout. Also keep in mind that the old RDLC version is gonna be marked for deletion by Microsoft. So if you, for one reason or another, use this RDLC copy of the report, you may want to create a copy so it doesn't disappear on you when Microsoft depreciates it. The subcontract or dispatch list, again, we have, this is an old version, and the new version again has two layouts, the Word layout and an Excel layout, which is nice.
yeah, the other thing that's nice about these Excel layouts, as they start coming out more and more, you can make changes to the layout. You can actually make changes to the Excel report. You can save that and you can import that as a new layout. So for instance, if you added a pie chart to this, you can make that an available layout that you can use. So here's production or statistics.
Yep, that's production order statistics, and then again the Word and Excel layout versions for the production order statistics. Same remark as for another report. The RDLC version is going to be marked for deletion at some point in time. So again, if you're using it, make a copy so it doesn't disappear after it's depreciated. And then legacy where used, and then the new copy of the report, again in the tabular format. So Microsoft is trying to stay consistent here. The item able to make, and then the new version in the Excel format with graphs. So again, very nice. And the last slide is just to inform everyone of what reports Microsoft is going to make obsolete. So probably it's a nice place to make a screenshot of this slide, though you will have the short link to the presentation available as well, because a lot of companies use these reports for their internal needs.
So along with those new Excel and modernized reports, they have an actual Power BI app for manufacturing. They have had this for a while, but the old one, it didn't have a lot, right? And now this new one, they've added a whole slew of new Power BI reports, in the Power BI app. If you're not familiar with the Power BI apps, you should take a look at them. They're really cool. They're super easy to configure and connect to your database. I don't know if it's in this version or in the fall. Those reports, it will become open source and you can modify them. You can, even if before they're open source, you can actually add your own custom pages to it with visualizations. So they look like this basically. You can click inside of Business Central and open these up, or you can go right to Power BI and open them up also. I think you do need at least, I'm not sure in the licensing, you do need a Power BI, I think Pro license for at least one user, but I don't know about viewers. So on the left, you've got what the old one looked like. The right is the new one. Same thing for expected capacity. Some of it's just kind of changing the view around a little, and you can actually go into these if you like the old view better. You can click on the little segment there, and you can change the format of it. Finished production orders. Production order routing lines. Again, you can filter these. You can do all routing lines. It's kind of a nice thing. Work center statistics. This one I don't think has a graph, and machine center statistics also. But you can also, as you go through, you can modify these. That there's some. I don't think I included them, but there are some. If you look up Microsoft Business Central Power BI apps, there's a Learn document that walks you through exactly how to install and link and enable, and it's really easy. The only thing you have to be aware of is that you are using, it now says explicitly which company name you use, whether it's the display name or the actual name of the company. But again, they're super easy to configure. Before we do any questions, I can just so here's actually one of the apps in Power BI, and you can kind of see. I think this might still be the old app. I don't think I've updated it to the new one yet. They are out for preview, but there are also apps out there There's a whole slew of them. There's manufacturing, inventory valuation, inventory purchase, sales, you just all kinds of apps. This is a new one versus the old one. You can see it's nice and blue over here. Um, this is on a demo company, so there's not a lot of data in here. So just wanted to show you those quick. So, are there any questions?
Yeah, we have a few. One is, will the finished prod order without output allow you to back flush any components used as in the case of a scraped shop order?
Um, no, well, it wouldn't backflush anything by definition because you're outputting at zero, so your consumption would be zero. You can manually consume what you use though, and then close it at zero.
Great, thank you. And then we do have another one. How do you get the specific BC and manufacturing Power BI app? Do you download it from the app source, or somewhere else?
Yeah, let me see if I can find the link. Um, yeah, I just Googled manufacturing Power BI app Business Central, and you can see there's a Microsoft Learn um, page. It will go through the whole thing on how to set it up. Here's how to use all the reports. And here is where you would see the one for installing the Power BI apps. So, so you need an environment, install your templates, use blah, blah, blah. It goes through step by step. Like I said, it's very easy to use and follow. Um, there's some configurations you can do, like if you have a different fiscal calendar, things like that. But it will actually, I mean, if you just follow this learn document, you'll be able to connect it. It's really easy. So, and so what it does is it installs the Power BI app, and then also, I don't think I opened my demo. So underneath, over here in Business Central now, I have a Power BI reports. I can actually open them directly. I don't know. We'll open just that one. And it actually will open in a window in Business Central then. So it's the same report as if I was looking over here at them, just a different view. There are filters, there's you can add custom pages. It's really nice actually. So um, does that answer that question?
Yes. Yes, thank you. And I am not seeing any others. Um, we will be sending the recording out later this week or early next week, so we'll make sure you all can have that to look back. And if there are any other questions, please feel free to reach out to our team here. So thank you both, Andre and Kevin, for presenting today. And thank you all for joining.